Well, welcome to another roundtable discussion here on the Concours Virtual, the virtual concourse. I'm delighted today to say that we're talking about the poster cards. So this is very much about the posters of cars you had on your wall as a young boy or a young girl. So I guess it's the automotive equivalent of Brad Pitt, Farrah Fawcett, or that nice girl on the tennis court with the bottom exposed. It's one of those. But this is the car version of all those things. So which cars did you have on your wall when you are or were a young man or a young lady? So just to introduce myself, my name is Richard Charlesworth, and if you haven't bumped into me at a classic event, you may have heard me over the PA as Master of Ceremonies for the Quail, a motorsports gathering, the curator and presenter of the Concours of Elegance at Hampton Court Palace, or the presenter of the London Concours. I'm also an established concours judge and reasonably well known for my association with Bentley Motors, having worked for the company since 1974, most recently as Director of Royal and VIP Relations, Head of the Heritage Collection, and as a brand ambassador. Now, Marek Reichman joined Aston Martin in 2005 as Director of Design, and since then has evolved and strengthened the company's iconic styling. This more recently has been delivered in the form of the V12 Vantage S, the Vanquish Volante, Rapide S, and the DB11. And creations to leave the purpose-built, award-winning Aston Martin design studio under Marek's leadership include the DBX Concept, Aston Martin Vulcan, and Vantage GT12, first unveiled in 2015, and more recently the DB11, of course. Marek is now Chief Creative Officer, and his experience has made him a regular judge at design awards and a lecturer at conferences, as well as being a concours judge himself. Now, Sam Hancock is a professional racing driver. He's also a coach and advisor to private clients on classic car transactions and historic racing programs. A contemporary racing career, competing internationally at the highest levels of Le Mans sports car and GT racing, yielded a European title, many international victories, and a stint as a works driver for the aforementioned Aston Martin racing. Now immersed in a thriving world of historic racing, Sam sources and sells exceptional cars for private collectors between a busy calendar of historic motor races. He's also a regular presenter for Petrolicious and Collecting Cars, commentator for Eurosport at Le Mans, and contributing writer for magazines such as Magneto, Motorsport, and Octane. And Sam is a full member of the British Racing Drivers Club. Now, for years, Harry Metcalfe was best known in the automotive world for co-founding Evo magazine in 1998. He left Evo in 2013 and became an outside advisor to Jaguar Land Rover, setting up the JLR Special Operations. But he also started to dabble in YouTube videos, which morphed into Harry's Garage, documenting his collection of cars and motorcycles. Now he has 350,000 subscribers. Many of his videos have been watched over 1 million times, and he's just been named Influencer of the Year in the UK News Press Awards. All hail Harry.
Yeah, not quite.
And going international as head of design at Touring Superleggera, Louis de Fabribeckers has overseen the famous coach builders projects from the 2008 Bellagio Fastback and the A8 GTX Berlinetta to the 2018 Touring Shah de Persia. Perfect examples of the haute couture philosophy that has made touring a respected player in the luxury car world. Other projects have included the 2010 Bentley Continental Flying Star, the 2012 Disco Volante, the 2016 Disco Volante Spider, and the 2014 Mini Superleggera Vision. With his rigorous approach, Louis perpetuates the essential values of Touring Superleggera's design: elegance through simplicity, balance, and lightness. And you're all very welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Yeah, well, good to see you here. Now, we're talking about poster cars. And as I said in my slightly irreverent introduction, this should mean supercars that you have pinned on your wall. If I look at the description on the class, description of the class on the website of the virtual concourse, it says supercars you dreamt of and stuck to your wall. Any true supercar from Euro onwards is eligible up to an original model launch date of 1989 latest. Entrants will be judged on rarity, performance, and condition. This class will see the cream of the world supercars. And I think you'll all agree we have got an astonishing lineup of cars.
Well, they're all very desirable cars, but whether they're actually poster cars, I suppose, is that what we're going to decide here. And I think there's a key difference between the two. The poster car, to me, is highly driven by the design of it and the potential and what you're going to do with it. and it's not all about performance, it's just that lust. Yeah, I would say the Lotus Esprit actually is to the car buff as well, because it introduced a new Lotus, that wedge design from Giugiaro. So it actually set a trend alongside with the Countach, the new design language for mid-engine cars. So the Bond is the glitter on top, I would suggest.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, we've got on this class, we've got to think poster, and therefore I'm going to put looks ahead of the drive in the car in this instance.
Well, I think you're right. I think that's the nature of the class that the judges have got to decide upon.
So we've got poster cars of the 60s, 70s and 80s. These are the cars that teenagers stuck on their walls. They admired them, particularly if they didn't have the Athena tennis girl. Massimo, how did the judges go about actually choosing?
Well, the first aspect to pick was which parameters we would have been applied in the judging, because of course we cannot see the car in real in a certain way, so we have to rely on the pictures and on the presentation. So we decided to give a lot of importance to the model, indeed. So the real model that went on the poster was represented, let's say in a certain way, was putting a lot of percentage of our judgment on the fact that it would have been a potential best in class or selection for the class. And then we had how the car that was entered into the concourse was looking. So how was the presentation of this car? Which part of history? How were the information given? The pictures and so on and so on and so on. So there was not a right decided percentage, certain amount of point because of that, and so on and so on. But let's say we decide to give an overall judgment that include with importance the model, then the very car registered to the event, and the presentation of the car. That was how we started, and then we went on debating, picking, let's say, trying to reduce the selection, because we started with a lot of cars, and so we had to practically take off one by one to reach a shorter number and a smaller number, and then to vote for which one we would prefer to have as the best in class.
Was there much discussion, much competition between a large group, or was it quite quickly boiled down to
Let's say that since the first moment, it was clear that there were 3 or 4 cars that for sure would have achieved well. And then there were a couple of very intense discussions among judges about a couple of models, and so it was very beautiful to see one of the judges trying to became the promoter of a model, trying to convince the other, maybe because we had to pick which one in the position. So it was really interesting, and I would say yes, because of course each one of us was a teenager, and depending our age, we had a poster in our bedroom. So it was quite interesting to discover what was hanging in our bedroom about 30 years ago. So that was quite fun.
Excellent.
And so starting from there, we went to pick at the very end the three cars for the podium, and then the best in class.
Okay, so tell us what came in number 3 then.
Number 13 class is the 1984 Lotus Turbo Esprit, because with his muscular head shape, for sure is one of the most representative cars of his period in the 70s and the early 80s. Not only as a W7 car, it was used in the 1977 movie The Spy Who Loved Me. The Esprit entered the imagination of the people, and so was on a lot of posters, not only as a Lotus Esprit, but as a W7 car. So, I think that everybody remembers the scene of when the Lotus Esprit came out from the sea on the astonished people on the beach in Costa Smeralda. So that was for sure the certain class, and we have to admit that the condition of the car entered were absolutely stunning, nothing to say on this regard. Some of the judges love to note that Raquel Welch was the only other 007 character that came out from the sea in a more memorable way.
David, tell me, from a people's vote, who came third, second, and first in this particular class?
Okay, so these are the cars that have been voted for by the visitors to the site and social media. Interesting choices as usual, lots of votes, and this really shows that when somebody gets behind a favourite car, then it makes a hell of a difference. So we'll start third place, and I think this will be a popular one. 1984 Lotus Turbo Esprit. It belongs to Peter Boyter. He's had it for years and years. It's got, would you believe, 2,000 miles on it from new. It is a stunning thing. Absolutely fantastic.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to you, Massimo, for being the chief class judge in that particular class. Thank you for the judges as well. We really appreciate the support that they give to the concours.